Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Sewcialites Quilt along created by Fat Quarter Shop. I'm Tanya and this is Creations with Tanya, and in today's quilt block we are doing block number 25, the Virtue block created by Bonnie Olson, and it says it's an intermediate block skill level, and I am doing the 6-inch block. There are 3 different sizes, 3, 6, and 9-inch blocks. I needed to cut out in the background fabric 4 2.5-inch squares and 8 1.5-inch by 2.5-inch rectangles. I decided this week I was gonna go with a dark background color. I thought I'd switch it up and try and use my scraps that I have left over. And as it is still October, I have chosen a pink fabric for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Of course, as you can see in the printed fabrics, you'll need, for the 6-inch block, 1 2.5-inch square, C, and D you'll need 16 1.5-inch squares. Let's get right into it. For our first unit, we are going to be doing flying geese units. You will need D and B. Grab those, D and B. I'll put A and C aside for now. And with D, all your 16 pieces you've cut out, you'll need to draw a line on the back. Let me see if I can get that for you. Can you see that? So I've drawn a line from corner to corner on the back of all of my squares. You will take 1 of your B fabrics and 2 of your D fabrics, and the first thing you'll do is put it like this with your drawn line going from one corner to just over the center of the line on your rectangle. So on that line, and you will do this to all 8 of them. Once that's done, you will have a piece that looks like this. And as you can see, I've ironed it already. I've cut it a 1/4-inch seam and ironed it open. These can get quite bulky as the smaller blocks get. The bigger the blocks are, the easier it is, and you don't always have to iron your seams open. So once this is done, you'll take your next D fabric and you will place it in the opposite corner, just like this, and you will sew along your line you've drawn. And once that's done, you will cut a 1/4-inch from the sewn line, and you should have your flying geese, which looks like this. And I have ironed them open. So you'll have 8 flying geese units when you're done. And then you'll take your flying geese like this, and you're gonna create a double flying geese unit. And this should make 4. You'll take 2 flying geese like this, just like this, and you will put them right sides together, and you will sew a 1/4-inch seam along line right here where it joins. And you should then have 4 double flying geese units. So just like that, and my seams are all ironed open. There you go, 4 units of these, because that's all you need to do. Pretty easy, pretty quick. I will show you how to lay out the rows for the block. Now that we have our 4 double unit flying geese, we are going to lay out the blocks. The first thing it tells you is to do 2 of these, so a top and the bottom, and then do the middle row. I mean, you can do it any way you want. I just sort of lay it out all like this, and then sew row by row, and then sew it together to finish it off to make the block. All right, you're gonna take your C 2.5-inch square. This is the middle square. Put it here, and then I like to do the middle row first. You're gonna take your double flying geese and make them pointing inward, and then your other 2 flying geese like this and pointing inward, and then your last B background fabrics are gonna go here in each corner, just like this. How do you guys like to lay out your blocks? Is there any tips and tricks that you like to use. This is what it's gonna look like. So I start from usually one side and then work my way to the other side. Right sides together, so 1/4 inch seam. I'm gonna then iron it open, and then I'm gonna do the other side. And I'm gonna do this for each row, and once I'm done, I will come back and I'll have all these rows sewn together, and then we will sew the block together. I have my rows sewn now. I have a question for you. How do you guys get your points nice and you don't chop them off? I learned a while ago from Angela Walters that the best thing to do is when you're sewing on this side, make sure that the one with the points, you can see where they intersect. This middle one is an easier one to see. So if I fold this back, you can see the point right here. I try and sew and I go really slowly on the point. And even if it's not lining up, I'll just sort of curve to try and get the point so I don't cut them off. What are your tips and tricks on how to do that? I don't know if it's the right way, but it works for me most of the time. I'm really happy about that. Now, the next step, after getting your rows completed and sewn together, I take top or bottom, doesn't really matter, match up the seams, and I will pin here and here to try and line them up so that when I go to sew my 1/4 inch seam, they line up in a row. Once I'm done that, I'll iron it open or finger press it open because I'm impatient, and then I will do the bottom row to the middle section. Then once I'm done sewing each row to the middle, I will then iron them open. So when I'm finished doing that, I will have the finished block. And here you have the finished block. This is block 25, the Virtue block, designed by Bonnie Olson in the Sewcialites Quilt Along, created by Fat Quarter Shop. And don't forget, I've put a link in the description below if you guys want to join along with me. And also check out at the end, I have also linked this series. So if you do want to go back, I've started from block number 1. Thank you all for being here. This was an actually awesome block to do. I really enjoyed this, and it actually turned out really good. I am liking the dark gray with the pink. You never know, there might be a quilt in my near future with these colors. I love them. Perfect. Okay, so for next week's block, we are doing block number 26, and it is called the Courage block, designed by Joanna Figaro of the Figaro Tree & Co. It looks like for the 6-inch block, you will need, in the background fabric, you'll need 3 2.5-inch squares and 2 2 3/8-inch squares. Say that 3 times fast. That was hard. Tongue twister. In your printed fabric, you'll need 1 3 7/8-inch square, 3 2.5-inch squares, and 4 2-inch squares. Go into your stash and get your fabrics ready for cutting for next week's video. Thank you all so much for joining me today. It was wonderful yet again on this wonderful, beautiful day. I hope you all have a wonderful quilt day. Bye.